What is poppin', people? How y'all doing, man? It's your boy Mark here on Marcky Sports, back again, and I got another mock draft I'm going to be reviewing today, breaking down the analysis and talking about what I like, what I don't like, if I think it's crazy, and I'd love to know you guys' thoughts. And today we are going to be looking at AndyNFL's mock draft. I'm super excited about it. Let me tell y'all something about Andy, man. He might not have the name recognition yet of like the Mel Kipers or the Field Yates or the Daniel Jeremiahs, but this dude is a film junkie. He puts the work in. He knows college ball better than anybody that I've ever seen. And I love his short film breakdowns and his analysis. I've not only linked the link of the mock draft below, but also his Twitter handle. Check it out. Show him some love. He really, really deserves it, man. He's awesome and one of the brightest minds when it comes to breaking down a lot of these different prospects. And we all know that there is a lot of them. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and pop it off. AndyNFL starting off. He did a 2-round mock. We're just going to review one. Maybe if we have some time, we'll go through two just to show him some love. But, you know, pretty vanilla. First pick, Tennessee Titans quarterback, Cam Ward. Obviously, this is, you know, I don't think I've seen a mock draft where it doesn't have this. This is something that makes a ton of sense. Elite quarterback play is required to make it through the AFC gauntlet like we've seen. Just like he said, Cam Ward has those traits, and that's why he loves him there as a franchise quarterback, something that makes sense. A little bit of a surprise here, not so much, but I like this pick a lot. Cleveland Browns taking Shedeur Sanders. They are going back-to-back quarterback. I think ultimately, regardless of if it's these teams or not, I really do believe this is going to be a quarterback draft. It's not very uncommon that this happens. Shedeur Sanders, while some people might not think he's worthy of the number 2 overall pick, I think he's a very good quarterback overall. And Andy breaks down and says the AFC North features Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. With that quarterback play, the Browns need to buy in and get their franchise quarterback. Yes, 100%. Shedeur Sanders has the makings to work well in Kevin Stefanski's offense. He does. He really, really does, man. I think that he's just he's going to be able to run that kind of Shanahan-based scheme super well. He's a very accurate passer. If there's anybody that can turn around the Cleveland Browns franchise from a culture standpoint, it's Shedeur. He's done it everywhere that he's gone. He's got the prime swag, the prime juice. I really like him a lot for Cleveland. You know, somebody had actually broken down, and I forgot where I had seen it, but it was a really interesting is, what if Shedeur falls a little bit and the Browns end up taking Travis Hunter at number 2, and they make a huge trade back into the first round to take Shedeur and have the Shedeur and Travis Hunter combo. And what does that mean for Coach Prime maybe going to Cleveland Browns? So something that I'd read up on earlier. I thought it was really interesting. But I love Shedeur going here, pick number 2. Speaking of Travis Hunter, he is going number 3 to the New York Giants. This would be a great consolation prize for them. I think that they're ultimately going to have to move up and make a trade with Cleveland if they want to ensure that they get a quarterback. But it would be a hell of a consolation prize to get the best player in this NFL draft in Travis Hunter, man. You know, somebody that can obviously play wide receiver or cornerback. He's a beast. He's a great superstar. He'll fit into the Big Apple really well. So not much to say there. I think it'd be a great pick for the New York Giants, even though they got to get a quarterback, man. You have to. But we'll see what happens with them in free agency still. All right, number 4 is Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State for the New England Patriots. Yes, that is the logical choice here, in my opinion. The best player remaining on the board, the best pass rusher, no doubt about it. Andy says he's legitimate defensive player of the year upside and will instantly be a defensive rookie of the year favorite. I don't think there's any doubt about it. It'll work really well with what Mike Vrabel and them do, and they would gladly accept him. That's a really revamped New England Patriots defense, just the team in general. So I love that, and then they can focus the rest of the draft on building as much as they can around Drake May, who I think is a stud. I loved him coming out last year, and I think that they really nailed it there. All right, let's keep this party rocking here, and we are going to go with Mason Graham, right? Oops, sorry. Come on, man. Why isn't this thing working? Mason Graham going over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is just the common sense logical pick. I've seen some different mock draft analysts. They're talking about how, you know, Mason Graham might fall. He had a little bit shorter arms, or he was under 300 pounds. Let's forget about it, guys. Right? And just like Andy says here, while some project Graham to fall, lately. I just can't see it. Graham is productive, disruptive, and reliable. A big upgrade for a needy Jaguars interior defensive line. No doubt about it. He's an absolute terror, man. When you watch him on film, he's just a beast. He pops out. And I think he's very worthy of a top 5 pick. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars get a steal here. And if they really wanted to, they'd probably have a lot of teams ringing their phones at number 5 if Mason Graham's available here. If they really wanted to accumulate some more picks, they could certainly do that. They're in a prime position at pick 5 when you're not needing a quarterback. Pick number 6, the Vegas Raiders go with Ashton Genty. This is another one that seems to be really common, right? After they got Geno Smith, Pete Carroll can get into his bag here, like he says. Carroll loves a strong rushing attack, and Vegas had one of the worst run games in the NFL. I agree with this. He's a generational running back. I think it's something that would make sense. But just something to keep in mind, Pete Carroll loves to run the ball, and he's always done a really good job of developing some of these, running backs and being able to get the most out of his run game. However, he also doesn't normally draft running backs in the first round. He typically finds them a little bit later. So that might be something that's worth keeping an eye on. I would not be shocked if they opt to not take a running back here at 6, even though you're talking about one of the best ones to come out of college, at least in my lifetime, or at least in the last decade. He's incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if they seen him, if they passed up on him, just because this team still has other needs. And yeah, we'll see. And they can get a bag for that too, as well, in terms of any kind of trade candidates. But otherwise, obviously, this makes a ton of sense. Armand Membu going over to the Jets at pick number 7. This is becoming more and more common. And I agree with it. I think that they need to continue to build out that line with Aaron Glenn there coming from the Detroit Lions. And, obviously, Darren Muji, coming from the Broncos. They're going to be able to look at a lot of things and say, how do we build this team inside and out? Now, the Broncos didn't necessarily build their offensive line from the inside and out via the draft. They built it via free agency, but conceptually, that's what Darren Muji knows. This is something that makes a ton of sense. Armand Membu, I just think he's such a stud. I think he did so many good things for himself after the NFL Combine. His inside-out versatility is huge, and they can really, last year, Olu Fashanu, they can really build around them. So I dig this one a lot. I think it's a pick that makes a lot of sense for the New York Jets. And that takes us to pick number 8, where the Panthers are trading pick 8 and 111 to the Bears for pick number 10 and 72, right? So the Bears are going to be moving up to pick 8 to get LSU offensive lineman Will Campbell. I love that. And I'm guessing they probably made this move to be able to jump New Orleans, who could have been a big player in the Will Campbell sweepstakes. While the Bears have revamped their O-line, Braxton Jones is free agent after this season. Yep, it's true. He also says that Jonah Jackson isn't a total needle mover in his opinion. And Joe Thuney is going to be a stud, but he's on the older side. So what's nice about here, just like he said, he provides the versatility. He's a building block. And just like I said, they move up 2 spots to prevent the Saints from taking him. I think Will Campbell is very slept on. And like I said, anytime you get an offensive lineman that's got all the traits and can play inside and outside, it's huge. They need to continue building there. The Bears cannot look at what they did in free agency and be like, all right, we're good. Now we're going to continue drafting some skill players. They've got to be able to get themselves some stalwarts that can be there for several years after. So I dig this one a lot. Nice pick there for the Bears, which leaves the New Orleans Saints going with Jalen Walker, linebacker and edge player from Georgia. One of my favorite players, no doubt about it, in this draft. I love this dude, man. He pops on film. I just think he's going to be so good. And I really hope that he goes to a system where he's used properly. They give him a solid identity, a solid role to play that he can grow into. I don't want to see it to where, maybe they want to play him off ball or they're going to sometimes play him edge. Let him be more of a full-time player in one of those roles with the ability to give you value in certain packages. But he's going to go to the New Orleans Saints here. I think, as bad of a head coach as Brandon Staley was, he's a really good defensive mind. And Jalen Walker is somebody that he could have a lot of fun with and he could utilize really, really well there in New Orleans. I like this pick. I think it could be a really good pick for him moving forward. All right, so now the Carolina Panthers are picking 10 with the trade back with the, I like this one, with the Bears. And they are going to pick Matthew Golden over Ted McMillan so far, and I love this. I think Andy has nailed this directly on the head. I think not only is he the exact type of wide receiver that Carolina needs, because he could play everywhere, man. He's a fantastic route runner. He's a fantastic separator. He just brings much needed juice. Bryce Young is going to love him. And based off of what we've seen from Bryce Young really in the second half of last year, this could be a really promising combination. Matthew Golden, man, is buttery smooth. When you watch him on film, you just realize the dude's always open, and you don't really know how. He doesn't look like he's that fast. He doesn't look like he's getting in and out of his breaks that quickly, but he is, and he is so smooth. He's so good. He's one of my surefire prospects, in my opinion. I just don't see a situation where he's not going to be at least a very, very solid wide receiver too. But I think his upside is immaculate. I love this pick for Carolina. They were able to trade back, get another pick, and still get, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in this draft class. So really well done. I love that one for them a lot. San Francisco is going with Will Johnson, the cornerback. This is refreshing, man. I like this because in a lot of other mock drafts that I've done, Will Johnson's kind of dropped a little bit more than I feel like he should have. This is more realistic. Will Johnson is somebody that is worthy of a top 15 pick. In this case, he goes number 11. And it makes sense to the 49ers. The 49ers they lost Charvarius Ward, and they need somebody that can be a stalwart in the back end of that defense. Somebody that can be a leader. We already know Robert Saleh. He loves his corners, right? His secondary. You saw what he had with Sauce Gardner in New York, and then all the great corners that he had previously in San Francisco. Will Johnson makes a ton of sense. He's going to fit in there perfectly, and I love it. All right, so back-to-back mock drafts, man, with the Broncos trading up with the Dallas Cowboys for pick number 12 for Tyler Warren. Funny that this worked out. The Cowboys are trading pick number 12 and pick number 171 in exchange for the Broncos pick number 20, pick number 121. So they're giving us a fifth, I believe, and we're giving them a fourth rounder and a 2026 second rounder in order to make this happen. Now listen, let me tell you, if this was the compensation in comparison to Chad Ryder's of yesterday's, which was, or a couple days ago when I did that one, which was the Broncos gave up their number 12 pick and their second round pick in exchange for pick number 12 and a fifth. I love this one way more. Worry about 2026, a second rounder later. You can still maintain and keep, your first 4 round picks in this particular scenario. I guess at least your first 3 round. I love it. This, from a value standpoint, would make a lot more sense. It's something that, as a Bronco fan, I would like. But it's also realistic because the Cowboys could look at it and say, you know what? We can have a really powerful pick next year for the second rounder. Some teams like to do that. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I love it. And listen, if the Broncos are going to trade up in this draft, which I'm not a proponent of them doing, I would rather them, if anything, trade backwards. But if they were going to trade up, this is definitely the player that I would want them to target. This is the best tight end in the draft class, bar none. He fits Sean Payton's system perfectly. And, I think, just like he said, instant value is a Y tight end with Evan Ingram working in the slot. Yes, Evan Ingram he is a pure F tight end. He's the move guy. Tyler Warren can certainly play in line in the Y, but also he can kill you in the pass game as a receiver. He can line up in the backfield. He can take snaps. He can throw the football. We've seen it all. The dude is a stud. I love this, and for that compensation, I love it a lot more. So A+ on this for my Denver Broncos. Well done, Andy. All right. Moving forward, the Miami Dolphins taking Malachi Starks, the safety here from Georgia. This is another pick this is another player that I've seen recently been falling. But you're breaking down Andy's breakdown here. Starks has the floor to be a plug-and-play replacement for Javon Holland and the ceiling to potentially be one of the best safeties in the NFL in just a few years. I see this as a home run pick for the Dolphins. I'm very high on Starks. I agree, too. I think if they're going to go with a safety to replace Javon Holland, this is the guy to do it, specifically in that style of defense. But in addition to that, too, man, he's just a playmaker. He could even play some slot for you. There's a lot of things Malachi Starks can do. I think that they'd be better off taking a inside, like an interior lineman or some sort of a lineman in general to help, revamp that O-line. But I don't see them doing that, just like I said yesterday. So Malachi Starks at pick number 13. I love that. Alrighty, here we go. The Indianapolis Colts are taking Colson Loveland. This is one of those things, man, where why are the Broncos, being mocked to go up and pass the Indianapolis Colts and make a trade with the Dallas Cowboys? For this exact reason, because the Indianapolis Colts need a tight end. In this particular case, they end up settling for Colson Loveland, who I think is a really good player, man. I think he's a really good player. He's a little bit more of that, F tight end. He can obviously do a little bit of blocking and play a little bit of Y, but he's dynamic, he's fast, he's big. I think he's a phenomenal player, and he'll be a really good weapon there for Anthony Richardson, because God knows he needs them all, just like we had said. Jihad Campbell going to the Falcons. This is another great pick as well. I think that if this is the case, and this is something that a lot of teams are mocking, or if this is kind of the way the NFL executives are thinking that this might go, look for a team like the Bucks to make a trade from 19 and, go up potentially to try to get this guy, because he fits there as well. But Jihad Campbell going to the Falcons, like I said yesterday in my Chad Ryder video, I think that Jihad Campbell's such a good player. He'd fit there really well, but I just feel like the Falcons are probably better off going with a pure pass rusher. They have a terrible pass rush. They could really use a little bit more juice there. But that doesn't mean that Jihad Campbell can't give you some, pass rushing juice. He just got to do it in very specific types of looks. Overall, he's a phenomenal player. All right, and now Andy here has got Shamar Stewart going to the Arizona Cardinals as I believe, is that the second edge off of the board? I believe it might be. Let me go back in and check. We might have a little bit of an edge run here, but unless you're considering Jalen Walker a true edge, I think it is. And that is interesting to me. That is a really interesting one to me. I've said it before. I'm never the kind of, analyst, for lack of better words, that would choose upside and talent and potential significantly over production. I got to see the production first. And that's the one big hesitation I have for somebody like Shamar Stewart. But when I was talking with Andy about this on the Discord channel, he just said, man, this guy is not only a freak of an athlete, he disrupted the game in so many different ways, just wrecked plays that didn't, lead to a sack, but a clear incompletion, or the quarterback feeling rushed and maybe the ball got picked, or, whatever it might be, that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. So I'll take his word for it. Maybe with NFL coaching and getting him into the right system, he can be one of those guys that's an absolute beast. In this particular case, he goes to Arizona. Jonathan Gannon, that guy knows how to coach defense for sure. So they'll get creative with him. And I think it's a really, really good move from a positional standpoint. And I'm excited to see what Shamar Stewart ends up doing, because the hype is real with those that love him. And there's some bust potential there too. And I really like to monitor and track a lot of those types of prospects for sure. Cincinnati Bengals going with Mike Green. I love this pick. I love Mike Green as an edge rusher. I think he's phenomenal. Cincinnati just invested like 40% of their cap moving forward. I think it might even be more in 3 offensive players. Granted, 3 phenomenal ones, but they have to hit on defensive players, and they have to do it in the draft for obviously those financial reasons. My thing about it is this too. I look at Cincinnati here at 17 as a big-time trade-back candidate. I think that they're going to really look to try to trade back and accumulate as many picks as they can, because they need to have as much ammunition as possible to use in this draft to be able to get that defense right, because they really are putting all their chips in the on the table for in terms of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow. 3 good players to do it. They got to fix their defense though, or else they're going to keep losing games while they're scoring 40 points. So I look for Cincinnati to definitely be one of those teams that could trade up. So anybody behind 17, look at them as a target. But Mike Green is phenomenal. He'll be really great here. I think he'll help that defense really take it to a next level and be able to get after the quarterback. So I dig that pick quite a bit. All right, we got another trade here. The Seahawks are trading pick number 18 to the Giants for the Giants' second-round pick number 34, number 65, their third-round pick, and a 2026 third-rounder. That would be one hell of a trade package back for the Seahawks. Yeah, they're going back and they're not having a first-round pick, but they're really getting 2 nice picks that I like in this draft. And that is so the Giants can take Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. This is interesting to me, man, because I've never been a very big Jackson Dart fan. And it looks like Andy agrees here. While I've talked about how I don't love Jackson Dart first round buzz, quarterback needy teams drag these guys up every single year. This is why I think Andy is dope. Because Andy said, listen, I wouldn't necessarily agree with this, but I can understand it from a standpoint of what would make sense from a lot of these NFL executives and their GMs. And this could make sense. If the Giants end up missing out on those top two guys, they want to ensure that they get their guy that they're targeting. They do so by trading up at pick 18. It actually makes a lot more sense than just waiting back and hoping that he falls in the second round. Even if you get a quarterback in the second round, guys, you're not really putting that commitment towards him, right? I look at it all the time. Second round quarterbacks, third round quarterbacks, they rarely ever make it because they're not given a legit chance. Did the team really love you as much as they say that they did? But by doing this, by, talking the talk and walking the walk, they're showing that they love Jackson Dart. They gave a lot to go up and get him, and that'll give them a better chance to succeed because they can continuously give them the reps and the opportunities to be able to be their franchise quarterback. So I don't like the pick, but the pick certainly makes sense. Certainly makes sense. But very interesting, and I think that the draft compensation, very well done there by Andy. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going with Donovan Ezeraku, the edge from Boston College. I think this guy's a stud. He's been rising up and rising up and rising up. He makes it here down to pick number 19. I think by this time it's a foregone conclusion. Donovan Ezeraku will be a first-round pick. I really do think that he is. He's just really good. Makes sense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, the system that they run down there. And that's all I really got to say. I kind of went blank on my mind there, but Donovan Ezeraku makes a lot of sense. And I like him here at number 19. They could just stand pat, be able to take who I think can be ultimately, one of the better edge, probably edge number 2 in this draft in terms of overall production. Super high upside player. So I dig that a lot. And here's the difference, right? You talk about Shamar Stewart went before him. Donovan Ezeraku was coming off a 16.5 sack season at Boston College. Shamar Stewart had 1.5 sacks each of the last 2 years. That's what I love to see. An extremely talented player with that kind of production. He's got first round written all over him. I love that there for Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, so now we are up with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys traded back from 12 to 20 with the trade with the Denver Broncos, and Omarion Hampton is going to be their pick there at pick number 20. And I was just thinking about that, man. Ted McMillan would have made sense, but he said while they could go with Ted McMillan here, I've mocked very regularly to Dallas. They opt for the home run hitting running back Hampton as a long-term Javonte Williams / Miles Sanders backfield won't cut it. That is true. It won't cut it. It's going to be kind of weird having Javonte and Omarion Hampton there because they even look very similar. Obviously, they both went to UNC. But, Omarion Hampton would step into Dallas day one and be by far and away the best running back that they have on their team. I don't know if Jerry Jones will ultimately make this pick. He's done it before. He did it with Zeke. It ended up being a good pick until they signed him to that second contract. He might have learned his lesson in terms of investment in the running back position and opt to go out of it. So I don't know if I necessarily see the fit here, but if that happened, Dallas Cowboys would certainly have a hell of a run game with Omarion Hampton doing a majority of the ass whooping there. So I dig that. Jahdae Barron, pick number 21, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, this is somebody that you watch him on film, man. He plays like he's a lot bigger than what he measured. I love the nickel and the outside versatility that this kid has. He's a dog. He tackles really well. I think Mike Tomlin would love him. I think he makes a lot of sense. He's got Pittsburgh Steelers written all over him. And hey, man, you're going to have to go up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and, potentially, Travis Hunter and, a bunch of other really good, explosive wide receivers in the AFC North. Why the hell not add Jahdae Barron to go out there and help you out? I like this one a lot. I think it's a really good pick for him. Ooh, and we move on to pick number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers, going with Ted McMillan. As a Bronco fan, I don't know if I would like this one too much because I think Ted is a stud. And I think he fits really, really well with what Jim Harbaugh would want to do there with Justin Herbert. He's a great compliment to Lad McConkey. It'd be a really good pick. It really would be. And I think getting him at 22 is really nice value. I don't really get the top 10 buzz for him, but getting him, in the mid to late first round definitely makes a lot of sense. I think Ted McMillan is wonderful. I even love him here for Denver as a fit too, and a potential replacement eventually to Cortland Sutton. I think he makes sense, but Los Angeles Chargers get a good one here with Ted McMillan, so I like that one. And the Green Bay Packers. Ooh, this is an interesting one, man. Derek Harmon, one of my favorite interior defensive linemen in this draft. I love Derek Harmon. I've mocked him to the Broncos a whole ton at 20. I think he's phenomenal. Certainly a first-round player. And you know what? This is the first time I've seen Green Bay actually taken like a defensive end or defensive tackle within this draft class. I think it's something that makes a ton of sense because he can help them, obviously, in the run game with stopping the run. He can help give them a little bit of juice that they need. I just think he's overall such a good player for him. Derek Harmon at pick number 23. This is one of my favorite picks, and I like the fit there a lot. I think he'd be really, really good in Green Bay. And they can certainly use it, man. You're in that division where you got high-powered offenses, like Minnesota. Chicago's trending up in the right direction. We'll see what they end up doing this year. And obviously the Detroit Lions, you've got to be able to counteract that with good defense. Derek Harmon is a great player at a premium position. I love that for them. And then here's another one, man. I've seen this a lot. Nicky Manwari to the Minnesota Vikings. This is like a glove, like a perfect fit. Like this fits like a glove in terms of players and defenses combinations. I think Brian Flores would absolutely love Emanwari. I really do. Just like I had said. They lost Cam Bynum. We already know about that. He plays a lot of three safeties too in that Brian Flores defense. But man, Emanwari's ability to play in the box and knock your teeth out and contribute in the run game, but also be able to play deep and more of that center fielder role. Not only I think he's just a really good player that can fit on any defense, but the fit within Brian Flores' man makes a ton of sense, and they would be thrilled to get a playmaker like Nicky Manwari here at pick number 24. All right, the Houston Texans. Man, I like this pick. I do, and exactly what I was thinking in that couple seconds of silence. I would have loved to see them upgrade the O-line, right? He said upgrading the O-line is a big need for Houston, but after signing Cam Robinson, it seems like they might look to add C.J. Stroud's former running mate at Ohio State. I dig it. I understand what you're saying there, Andy. I agree with this in a sense of Cam Robinson is definitely not going to be the long-term solution, but he gives them enough of a player to where you don't have to reach for any of these tackles at this particular point if you don't want to. You can actually get some really good value and some decent prospects that with a year of seasoning can be very good for you in the second and in the third round. Emeka Egbuka would be a 10 out of 10 A-plus fit in Houston. He's an awesome player. I think he's such a safe bet. Him and Matthew Golden are the two wide receivers specifically in this draft that I'm just so confident have a very, very high floor and a ceiling that could be extremely high as well. Both phenomenal players. Emeka Egbuka is one of my favorites in general, just from not just the way he plays, but the leadership traits, man, the things that you say, you could tell he loves football. He just seems like such a good dude. He'd be amazing there in Houston. CJ Stroud would love him. Obviously, it was, so unfortunate they had, some of the injuries that, like with Tank Dell last year. But, Emeka Egbuka would be a stud in the slot for them. An absolute stud in the slot. Really, really good weapon. I love this pick for the Houston Texans. And Emeka Egbuka at 25 is solid. That's really, really good. Azareye'h Thomas, the cornerback from Florida State, is going to the Los Angeles Rams. Azareye'h Thomas has been getting a lot of first round buzz, and I can understand why whenever you see a corner, that played at Florida State. Granted, they were a really, really bad team this last couple of years, but you're still going up against really good competition, and you're that size, that 6'2", long, you're rangy. You're gonna get a lot of first round buzz. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't done a whole lot of work on these cornerbacks outside of really Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron because I don't view it as a huge need for the Broncos. I think that this is something that makes a lot of sense. The Los Angeles Rams need to continue adding on their defense for their defense and he could be a really good player out there for a multitude of reasons, right? To make them a little bit more well-rounded, as they at times were definitely torched through the air last year. Baltimore Ravens and Walter Nolan. That's another fit that makes a whole ton of sense, man. Eric DaCosta, Howie Roseman, they both love to go with these types of defensive tackles with crazy upside. I think if Baltimore didn't take them, the Eagles certainly would. This is a great fit. Makes so much sense. And at pick 27 is a huge steal. Somebody that is just a stud. He has Ravens written all over him in terms of their style of defense. I love this pick. No doubt about it. And this one, I love a lot too. As the Detroit Lions at pick number 28 are going with Gray Zabel, the interior offensive lineman. Yes, this is another fits like a glove type of draft pick, man, in terms of what the Lions do on the offensive line, imposing their will. Just that's how they win games, by being able to run the ball and out physical teams. And it starts with their offensive line. They lost some guys. They're going to be able to bring in Gray Zabel. Phenomenal player. He can be a starting center. He'd be a starting guard day one. And he even has the ability to fill in at both tackle spots. Really good player. Killed it at the Senior Bowl. Was absolutely just eating everybody. I love this. Dan Campbell is going to drool over this kind of a pick. So this one is awesome. Makes a ton of sense. And here's another one I like, man. I'll tell you what, of all the mocks that I've done so far, I'm really enjoying this one the most because it's got a lot of really fun fits, right? Not necessarily is it going to be and these scenarios are very realistic, but they're a lot of fun. Like seeing Gray Zabel go to the Lions would be a ton of fun, right? Walter Nolan go to the Ravens, a ton of fun. Sean Payton having Tyler Warren and so on and so forth. This is another one, man. Luther Burden going to the Washington Commanders. Not a lot of people have this because they just took Debo and they're like, why would they take Luther Burden? Who cares? Let Cliff Kingsbury figure out how the hell he's going to use all these guys. Jaden Daniels can obviously play. He's an absolute baller. We saw what he did last year. Having Debo, having Luther Burden, that's a hell of a combination to add next to Scary Terry McLaurin there. So, yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, man. I don't know if this will happen. This would be a lot of fun because, I kind of look at Luther Burden like he's a younger, faster, more dynamic Debo. Debo's obviously a little bit older now, but he could do a lot of the stuff that Debo does, but he can also do a lot of the receiver stuff better at that stage in his career than Debo could when obviously he was a rookie. So I like this. I think it'll be a lot of fun, man. Jaden Daniels will just have weapons for days at this point. And that causes a little bit of a slide for Kenneth Grant, who's going to go to Buffalo. And that makes a ton of sense. You put him next to Ed Oliver. You put him up on that defensive line. They can really help continuing to penetrate, get better. And that's the smart thing for the Bills, is to just continue to beef up that, their O-line and their D-line, get stronger so that you can compete and go get the championship. Now, while I think their best opportunity to win a Super Bowl is this upcoming season with the Chiefs maybe taking a step back, this is a huge year for the Bills. Kenneth Grant is an absolute monster, man. He's so good. Phenomenal against the run. He can really give you some surprising pass rush presence too. I think he's really good. That's a great fit there for the Buffalo Bills. Kansas City Chiefs are going with Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State, which by all accounts seems like that's a little bit of a slip from him. And Andy says one of the steals of the draft. The Chiefs quite possibly get their franchise offensive tackle here. Simmons does have injury concern. Ultimately makes him drop, but the taint warrants him going a lot higher than this. This is a really good pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. I can even see them trading up if they need to a little bit to be able to target an offensive tackle, whether it's Josh Simmons or somebody else. They certainly need it. It would be a smart pick. Kansas City Chiefs have been successful over the course of the many, many years for a reason, and this pick would be another example of why. So I love that. And then pick number 32, Philadelphia Eagles go with Mykel Williams, the edge from Georgia. Interesting thought here. It's a good point because the Eagles do know their Georgia Bulldogs very well at this point. And he is, Mykel is a very hard player to mock, like Andy says. He says a team could fall in love with his traits and upside in the top 10. And he falls to number 32 as his production always has trailed the traits. Yeah, it sounds very similar to Shamar Stewart. We'll talk about that on a second one. But yeah, this is another one of those edge rushers that some teams are going to love. Some teams are not going to have him super high on their board. So I dig that. Philadelphia Eagles. Howie Roseman's earned himself a reputation. Whatever they end up doing, you feel like it's going to be the smart move. So what do you guys think, man? Should we go on to round number 2? I think we should. Let's keep it going. We're going to go through round 2. All right, guys. Well, truth be told, man, I did the entire round 2 of Andy's mock draft. And for whatever reason, in the middle of it, my microphone just cut off and there was no sound at all. I'm glad that I caught it. So instead of bringing it to you guys, I'm going to make sure that I show Andy some love. Link the link down below to his mock draft. Be sure to definitely check it out. I thought it was awesome, very intuitive. I thought he made a lot of really good picks. And just to kind of give a little bit of a recap, I thought Seattle absolutely crushed it in his mock draft. I thought the Raiders made some great moves. I thought the Kansas City Chiefs made some great moves. I liked the Caleb Johnson pick a lot. I would have preferred Quinshon Judkins, but that's, all semantics, right? I mean, either one of those running backs I think can be a very, very good fit for the Broncos. So getting Tyler Warren and Caleb Johnson would be an absolute, home run. Being able to trade up for Tyler Warren without needing to give up your second round pick would be a dream. So I love that. He did an awesome job. I just wanted to make sure that I made this part of the video, but be sure to check it out, show him some love, and follow him on all the socials, man. He puts some awesome stuff out on Twitter. Interact with him. He'll always, give you his thoughts and his analysis on all the latest NFL draft stuff. So I appreciate y'all, man. You know what to do. Take care of yourselves, and until the next video, y'all peace out, baby.